Right now, something unusual is happening in the world of money. Most people are busy scrolling through news, worrying about inflation, watching stock markets go up and down, and trying to figure out what the future will look like. But far away from the noise, in quiet boardrooms and private investment meetings, the richest people on earth are making a move that is catching the attention of financial experts everywhere. Curious, they are buying gold. This might sound simple at first, but when billionaires start moving their money in the same direction, it is never random. These are people who have spent decades studying markets, studying history, and understanding how economies rise and fall. They do not act on emotions, they act on signals. Thoughtful, and right now, the signal they are seeing is pushing them towards something that has protected wealth for thousands of years. Gold has always had a special place in the story of money. Long before digital currencies, long before paper bills, long before stock markets existed, gold was trusted across civilizations. Empires rose and fell, currencies came and went, but gold remained a symbol of security and real value. That is why when uncertainty begins to grow in the world, powerful investors start looking at gold again. Think about it for a moment. Billionaires have access to the best financial advisors, the best economic data, and the best market research on the planet. They see trends before the public does. They understand risks before headlines start talking about them. When they begin shifting billions of dollars into one asset, it means they are preparing for something bigger than the daily news cycle. And in 2026, that quiet movement toward gold is becoming impossible to ignore. Behind the scenes, large amounts of wealth are flowing into something simple, something timeless, something real. The question that should make everyone curious is not just why they are buying gold, but what they are seeing in the world that most people have not yet realized. There is a powerful truth about money that most people learn too late. The biggest signals in the world of wealth are rarely loud. They do not come with flashing headlines or dramatic announcements. They happen quietly, slowly, and almost invisibly. And the people who understand these silent signals are the ones who stay ahead of the crowd. Right now, something very similar is happening again. While millions of people are focused on daily news, social media trends, and short-term market movements, some of the smartest investors in the world are paying attention to something much deeper. They are watching the behavior of what is known as smart money. This is the money controlled by powerful investors, billionaires, major institutions, and financial leaders who move billions of dollars based on long-term vision, not short-term emotions. Smart money does not chase excitement. It does not jump into trends because everyone else is doing it. Instead, it looks for signals hidden beneath the surface. It studies patterns from history. It studies global debt, economic pressure, currency instability, and geopolitical tension. When these signals begin to align, smart money starts preparing quietly. That is exactly what makes the current moment so interesting. Many people think gold is simply an old-fashioned asset, something from the past. But when you look closely at what powerful investors are doing today, a different story begins to appear. Quietly, steadily, and with strong conviction, large amounts of wealth are flowing into gold again. Not because of fear alone, but because of understanding. History has shown this pattern many times. Before major financial shifts, before markets change direction, and before economic storms arrive, smart money usually moves first. It positions itself where safety and stability exist. It does not wait for the crowd to notice. And that is why paying attention to these silent movements can be one of the most important lessons in understanding how wealth truly works. Gold has never been about quick excitement or fast profits. It has never been the kind of asset that promises overnight success or sudden riches. Instead, gold has always represented something deeper, something stronger, something far more powerful than hype. It represents protection. When the world feels stable and everything appears to be working perfectly, people often forget about protection. They chase fast returns, risky opportunities, and big promises. They believe the system will always remain strong. But history tells a very different story. Economies rise and fall. Currencies lose value. Markets experience moments of chaos that nobody expected. And when those moments arrive, people suddenly begin searching for something solid. That is where gold enters the picture. Gold does not depend on a government promise. It does not rely on a company's performance or a politician's decision. It simply exists as a real asset that has been trusted for thousands of years. When uncertainty grows, when financial systems begin to shake, and when people start questioning the strength of paper money, gold becomes a powerful shield that protects wealth. This is why the smartest investors in the world treat gold very differently from the way the crowd sees it. They do not buy gold because they are hoping for hype or speculation. They buy gold because they understand the importance of security. To them, gold is not a gamble, it is a foundation. Think about the mindset of someone who has already built massive wealth. Billionaires are not chasing the next quick trend. Their focus is preserving what they have built through decades of hard work, smart decisions, and disciplined thinking. They understand that protecting wealth is often more important than multiplying it. And when uncertainty begins to grow in the global economy, when inflation pressures currencies, when debt levels climb higher and higher, and when financial systems start facing stress, gold quietly becomes one of the most trusted forms of protection in the world. Billionaires do not build massive fortunes by guessing. They build them by learning how to recognize patterns that most people ignore. While the average person reacts to headlines, emotions, and daily market noise, powerful investors step back and look at the bigger picture. They study history, they study cycles, they study how economies behave when pressure begins to build. This ability to recognize patterns is one of the greatest advantages the wealthy have. They know that the world moves in cycles. Periods of growth are followed by periods of stress. Times of stability are often followed by moments of uncertainty. And when those signals begin to appear, smart investors start preparing long before the public becomes aware of what is happening. Look at the world today. Governments around the globe are carrying enormous levels of debt. Currencies are facing constant pressure from inflation. Economic tensions between powerful countries continue to rise. Financial markets are becoming more unpredictable. None of these things happen overnight, but together they begin to form a pattern that experienced investors recognize immediately. When billionaires study these signals, they do not panic. They do not wait for the news to confirm their fears. Instead, they calmly position themselves in assets that have proven their strength throughout history. And once again, gold becomes a central part of that strategy. Gold has survived wars, financial crashes, currency collapses, and global uncertainty. It has been trusted across centuries because it represents something real, something tangible, something that cannot simply be printed or created by policy decisions. That is why experienced investors return to it again and again whenever global patterns begin to shift. To the average observer, these moves might look quiet and unimportant. But to those who understand how wealth is protected and preserved, these decisions reveal a powerful message about how the world's most successful investors are preparing for the future. For many people, the world of money feels confusing. Every day there are new headlines, new predictions, new opinions about what will happen next. One expert says the economy is strong, another warns about crisis. Markets rise one day and fall the next. In the middle of all this noise, ordinary people often feel lost, unsure about what to believe and what direction the future is really moving. But sometimes a moment arrives when things start to become clearer, a moment when the fog slowly begins to lift and a bigger picture starts to appear. That moment often begins when people stop looking only at the headlines and start observing the actions of those who understand the system deeply. When you look closely at the behavior of the world's most powerful investors, something powerful begins to happen inside your mind. You begin to connect the dots. You begin to realize that markets are not random chaos. There are patterns, there are signals, and the smartest people in the financial world are always paying attention to them. This realization can feel like waking up from a long sleep. Suddenly you understand that wealth is not only about luck or timing. It is about awareness. It is about learning to see what others overlook. When billionaires quietly move billions of dollars into assets like gold, it sends a message. It shows that behind the scenes, experienced investors are preparing for a future that may look very different from the present. For the ordinary viewer, this discovery can be incredibly empowering. Instead of feeling like a spectator watching powerful forces shape the world, you begin to feel like a student of the game. You begin to understand how money flows, how protection works, and how history often repeats itself. The more you observe these signals, the more confidence begins to grow inside you, and the more clearly you start seeing the powerful patterns shaping the global financial future. There are moments in history when the world begins to change quietly. At first, the signals are small. They do not look dramatic. They do not cause panic. But for those who are paying attention, these signals feel important. They feel like the beginning of something bigger. In times like these, fear can easily take over people's thinking. Headlines talk about inflation, debt, economic pressure, and global uncertainty. When people hear these words again and again, it becomes easy to feel nervous about the future. It becomes easy to imagine the worst, but the smartest investors in the world do not operate with fear, they operate with awareness. Instead of panicking, they focus on preparation. Preparation is powerful because it turns uncertainty into opportunity. When someone prepares early, they are not reacting to a crisis. They are getting ready before the crowd even realizes that something important is happening. This calm mindset is one of the biggest differences between emotional decisions and intelligent strategy. That is why the movement toward gold in 2026 is not about panic. It is about positioning. It is about understanding that the global economy is entering a period where stability may become more valuable than speculation. In such times, assets that have proven their strength across centuries begin to attract attention again. Gold represents patience, discipline, and long-term thinking. It reminds investors that real wealth is not always about chasing the fastest growth. Sometimes it is about protecting what truly matters. The world's most experienced investors understand this lesson deeply. They know that when uncertainty grows, strong foundations become more important than ever. This mindset creates a powerful sense of urgency, not the kind of urgency that causes panic, but the kind that inspires people to wake up, learn more, and start thinking about the future with clarity and confidence. There is a powerful shift that happens inside a person the moment they begin to understand how the world of money really works. At first, many people feel small compared to the massive financial systems around them. Governments make decisions, markets move billions of dollars every second, and powerful investors seem to control the direction of global wealth. It can feel as if ordinary people are simply watching from the sidelines. But awareness changes everything. The moment you begin to understand the patterns behind money, the moment you start noticing the signals that experienced investors follow, something inside you becomes stronger. You stop reacting blindly to headlines. You stop feeling powerless when markets move. Instead, you begin to observe the world with a different mindset. You start asking deeper questions. Why are powerful investors moving their money? What patterns are repeating from history? What lessons can be learned from the decisions of those who have protected wealth across generations? This awareness is not about becoming a billionaire overnight. It is about becoming informed, thoughtful, and prepared. Knowledge has always been the most powerful asset anyone can have. When you learn how to recognize financial signals, you begin to see opportunities and risks more clearly than before. Gold in this story is more than just a precious metal. It becomes a symbol of understanding. It represents the idea that real strength comes from preparation and patience. The people who succeed in protecting their wealth are not always the ones who move the fastest. They are the ones who move with awareness. And once someone begins to see the world through this lens, they no longer feel like a passive observer of economic change. They begin to feel ready, focused, and confident as they watch the powerful forces shaping the financial future unfold around them.